Rev up your engines! Okay, today we got a 2012 Volkswagen Touareg TDI. It's a diesel. Everybody knows what I think about Volkswagens? That I can't stand them, right? Ugh. Well, there's always an exception to the rule. Now, originally this car was $53,700. And that was back in 2012. Well, this guy's no fool. He bought it used, and he paid $13,800 for it. And it only had 78,000 miles. I say only because it is a diesel now. It's not a gasoline engine. And since he bought it, he's put in 130,000 plus miles, changing the oil and stuff. He hasn't really had any major problems with it whatsoever. Now, how can that be? Well, we'll start right here. As you can see, it was made in Slovakia. Truth be told, European-made Volkswagens are much better than the ones we normally get in the United States because many of them are made, guess where? Mexico! Not the bastion of quality manufacturing. The Europeans are nuts about Volkswagens. One year, Volkswagen even sold more cars than Toyota did. This is worldwide. In this case, it was a European-made one. And as we look under the hood, relatively massive V6 diesel engine. Now, yes, this is one of the Dieselgate ones. In the past, they probably got a little bit better gas mileage, a little bit more acceleration. They had to detune them because they cheated with the diesel emissions scandal. But that doesn't mean the engines aren't good. They are solid engines. Volkswagen's been making diesel engines for the public since the 1970s. That's a long time, and these are actually excellent engines. If he drives it normal on a highway speeds, he get 29 miles a gallon. That's a feat, considering that this thing weighs 5,000 pounds, all right? That is 2.5 tons, right? It's a heavy vehicle. To get that kind of gas mileage, it really says something. Now, the only downside he had was this hose got broken when his son was changing out the oil filter, and they had to rig their own setup here because it still has some plastic parts on them that's going to break because Volkswagen uses too many plastic parts. But I mean, that's a minor thing to complain about, really. Realize this is a diesel with tremendous diesel fuel pressure. So look at the lines. Hey, what are these? Solid steel. No plastic crap here. Now, I did have one problem over that stupid DEF system, the anti-pollution system. He was on a highway. He couldn't get the Volkswagen DEF. He put some in from another manufacturer, and the Volkswagen dealer claimed that was the problem. And they said they had to replace the whole filter system for like $1,600. The problem with that stuff has a lot to do with software, and of course, these guys had to change the software because they cheated in the emission scandal. But you consider the money they got saved buying it used, he's still, doing fine. This is one reason why guys who are really serious about Volkswagen diesels, they will often only buy the older ones before they have all this DEF and computerized crap on it. So if you really want to simplify, get an old one, maybe rebuild it, But for what he paid, so he had to pay $1,600. He paid so much less for that car that the original owner did. Makes your head spin. So, that's not a bad deal. And it's also a lesson if they told the truth. I don't know if they did, but if they did tell the truth, carry some Volkswagen DEF in your trunk, and the next time you fill it up and you're out, go get another jug of the stuff, or 2 or 3. Get them from Amazon or something and stick them in your garage so you'll have the right one. And then Volkswagen can't pull any baloney until you put the wrong DEF fluid. You say, no, I didn't look at yours. Now we're going to go a full scan on this thing, but first we'll look around, and you can see seats are still in excellent shape. Look at all the room this thing has. It's a fancy, gigantic sunroof inside here. It's a nice little luxury SUV. And so far, the transmission has held up perfectly well for him, which is another reason I like it, because it's a diesel. He had an older Jetta with a 2.0, just a 4-cylinder engine in it, and that transmission, it wasn't so hot. It went out on him, and he had that transmission rebuilt, cost him $6,000. These are very complex transmissions. There's no arguing that. Seeing that it has a diesel engine that has 406 pound-feet of torque, that's a lot of torque. This thing can tow like 7,700 pounds, but the tongue weight is only 500 pounds. So, let's just face it, it can, but it wasn't designed for towing gigantic things, right? I mean, a short distance you might try it, but the tongue weight isn't really made for it, for handling that kind of stuff. As you can see, no, it's got 208,872 miles. Let's see what kind of shape it's in. Already detected it, Volkswagen, and we'll do a full scan of it. See if we can do a whole topology scan. So, if there's one thing Germans like, it's data. You're going to find there's data up the wazoo. Some of it will make your head spin. Some of it will seemingly make no sense at all, except to a German. But if you want data, if you're into data, buy a Volkswagen, and you can spend your life pondering it all. Now, for Volkswagen as old as this, it's got 6 trouble codes. All right, a lot of them generally aren't going to mean anything. We'll start at numero uno, engine control module. Exhaust gas temperature sensor, range performance and exhaust gas temperature, EGT sensor 3, bank 1, circuit 3, passive sporadic. And the possible causes: loose corroded harness, exhaust leak, excessive carbon deposit sensor, faulty ECM module, or a catback exhaust system without exhaust gas temperature devices. Now see, the last one is because they know people are deleting these things. So if you do delete one, it'll keep tripping codes because it knows you deleted the stupid thing. Well, at least this is Tennessee, so it's not something you got to really worry about. Look at this information. Fault frequency. It's only happened once. If something happens 1 out of thousands of times, good luck. It's worse than finding a needle in a haystack. Now you know why I don't like working on Volkswagens. So I'm going to erase them. Okay, now it's got an AC code. We'll see what that is. These are incredibly complex air conditioning systems. Look at the trouble codes. Here's a German code if there ever was one. Passive sporadic function limitation due to received malfunction value. But the air conditioning's blown cold enough for him, so we'll leave that one well enough alone too. Like I said, you could spend an entire lifetime, if you're a computer nerd, tracing these things down, analyzing how your Volkswagen works, but I mean, let's leave that to the nerds. Most people are going to say, well, it blows cold when I turn it on. That's good enough. Now, the owner just told me he replaced the battery yesterday. It was bad. Who knows? Some of these codes could have been tripped from that. As I tell people over and over again, you do want to check your battery in a modern car more often than we used to in old cars. Because in the old cars, if you had a bad battery, big deal. You try to start the car and it'll go, put another battery in, it goes. These things are all run by computers. When your battery gets below a certain voltage, some of the systems will go wacky, trip code, so we're going to erase them. I'll see what happens when we come back. All right, there's 3 left. Information electronics. Okay, this should be a good one. Function restriction due to communication interruption. Well, that's a really good one. All right, there's 2 left. Let's see what they are. Central electronics. Notice they're all electronic stuff. Left fog light bulb. Electrical error in circuit. Well, now that's the only one that makes sense so far because he's got a hole in his fog lamp when he went to St. Louis. Somehow got cracked. Water and crap got in there. So that one at least makes sense. Down to the last one. And the rear lid electronic says no basic setting. Now that actually makes sense too, because he changed the battery the other day, and these crazy German cars, if you do change the battery and you don't put a battery saver on to keep the electronics, you got to get computers like these, and a lot of times you got to reset basic settings for stuff. Yes, that's the German, the most anal people on the planet, and these are the machines that they build. Well, so now we got that out of the way. Let's start it up. We'll look at the engine control module first, get some live data, and being a German car, look at all the data you can mess with, right? I mean, it's a level of insanity, but what do you want to figure out here? Yeah, let's check out the fuel system. And you can see it's a diesel. The specified value is 23,000, and it's 22,000, 23,000, 20. That's working perfectly fine. The nerds would have a field day. You can get fuel injector rail pressure calibration points. You can also have cylinder quality deviation of how much fuel is being sprayed in, pre-injection activation, even shows you the voltage calibration form. This just has a very complex tranny. Let's look at some of the transmission on. You can get speed, torque. That's not very interesting. We'll go to the other one. Desired torque, normal torque, and look, it has data for transmission mount 1. Now, why would you want data for a transmission mount? Well, yes, indeed. Even those things are electronically activated on Volkswagens. Like I said, if we can build them, we will, and we will make them as crazy as possible so no one will know what we're up to. So let's take it for a spin and see how this thing runs. So the sun's in the backup camera, but we can see what's happening there. Decent backup camera for an old car. Now, this is a V6 diesel. Pretty smooth. They're not the little rattle buckets that the 4-cylinder ones are. And you can see driving normal. He's getting 28 miles a gallon. That's not bad. And these trannies, when they work, they're smooth. You can feel that thing is smooth. They're relatively high up in the air, but being all-wheel drive, hey, these things corner quite well, especially when it's snowy or rainy. You're not gonna have to be worried about sliding down the road. We'll see what this thing does on a little drag strip. Doesn't feel bad just taking off here. We'll get over here because there's people coming. We don't want to stop and be rear-ended, so. All right, they're out of the way. Now we can come to a stop and see what this diesel beast can do. Got a lot of torque, not a ton of horsepower, but a lot of torque. There's nobody there. And here we go. Yeah. Not bad. Well, we're faster than that diesel over there, John Deere. Let's see what it's like to pass somebody when the cement truck gets out of the way. All right, we're going 35. We'll floor it. There we go. You can see it moves. Now understand one thing. This is a diesel engine. This isn't a gasoline engine. The thing about diesels is they're not horsepower monsters. This is only 200-something horsepower. If this was a gasoline V6 with twin turbos, it'd be closer to 400 horsepower. But diesels, they're not horsepower, they're torque. Yeah, just driving it around, it's got a nice feel to it. Holds the road good. So there you have it, a Volkswagen of a different color, right? They say birds of a feather flock together. Well, this one's in its own flock, I guess. He paid so much less. He's put 100-something thousand miles on it. Hey, he says it's the most luxurious car he ever had. It is a nice, luxurious car. Now, I would never buy a new one at the price, but hey, if I bought one for that small amount of money, 12-something grand, and put 100-something thousand miles on it, it still ran as good as that, I'd think, hey, well, I'm getting my money's worth, keep driving the thing around. Just realize it's not a typical Volkswagen. It's got a V6 diesel. I wouldn't buy a new one, but he didn't either. And for what he spent, for what he got, you really can't argue it. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.